Sports for Real with Coach Hall. Now that the Sweet 16 has been solidified, we've gotten rid of a lot of pretenders. And amongst those were number one seeds Purdue, and to a lesser extent, Kansas. Well, let's just say Kansas got upset. Arkansas is a pretty good basketball team, and they're playing pretty good basketball. So let's strike Kansas from that record. But Purdue, losing to Fairleigh Dickinson, a 16 seed, that's unexcusable. But the other two remaining seeds, probably what you're going to see in the Final Four. You have number one overall seed Alabama, and you have number two seed Houston. Now, just a preview of what could happen, kind of the way that Maryland played Alabama the other day, trying to slow the game down and ugly the game up in a lot of ways. Houston has the ability to do that. They play pretty good defense and they can score the ball. But the big thing right now is Alabama, the overall number one seed, and they're playing like it. The first game, we had a little cause to wonder about Brandon Miller. You know, he's got a lot of things going on in his universe, as you might well know. He's the only three of the defendants that weren't charged in the murder case of that single mother up in Alabama. The other two guys, they're facing capital murder charges. And the interesting thing about that, there's some new video that's been leaked by the prosecutor that kind of weakens the prosecutor's case. You don't really have anything to pin these guys definitively that, hey, they're the ones that did this crime. But the problem that Miller has, he has to keep this in the back of his mind as this unfolds. He showed up at the NCAA tournament with bodyguards. And while most people may not understand it, I do. He hasn't been charged, which makes the other two guys maybe want to look at him a little bit different. Also, the family of the girl that was killed, they may want a piece of him too, because in their mind, he's got to be involved some kind of way. So having said that, it's a good idea for Mr. Miller to have those bodyguards. And one thing that hasn't been said, has been talked about on the side criticizingly, but it's the University of Alabama allowing this guy to play with all these things surrounding him. I think the proper thing to do is to let the man play because he hasn't been charged with anything. Since he hasn't been charged, you don't have any real reason to hold him out. But a lot of institutions would not have allowed Miller to continue playing. So you have to give Alabama credit for that. But on the flip side of that, his critics, they don't want to see no part of this guy playing until this whole case is resolved. And it looked like that Miller may have been affected by all of that in the first round. He didn't score any points. Well, it's come out that he has a groin injury, and the groin injury wasn't doing so well that first night. But as you see, he came back in game two and scored 19 points. So it looks like Mr. Miller is on track to do well. So having said that, Virginia being knocked off by Furman opened the door for San Diego State, another good physical basketball team who can give Alabama some problems, and they're going to line up on Friday and get it on. So just a little outlook on what's taking place in the NCAA tournament. But as you keep an eye on the road, down the road, Alabama and Houston, that's going to make for a pretty good game. Sports for Real.